no matter how hard you try, you won't make everyone to like you. There will be always someone who doesn't care about you, most likely, and sometimes even hate you.
I listen to my parents and I listen to people around me. She said, you listen, or maybe you hear, but you don't process it. You would still end up doing what you want to do. So I'm
Mhm.
like, I think that's how every human is wired. So,
Many people likes to be led and they like so that someone tells them what to do. I believe it's very important to make mistakes.
what is one advice that you would like to give to your future self?
Don't give any advice.
We all have known that the world's getting smaller, but building across it isn't getting any easier. Founders Across Borders was born out of that simple insight that ideas travel fast, but people always build differently. They speak differently and they lead differently. To ensure that how leadership is changing the horizons and it's actually being in a space where it's inspirational and you are admiring the progress. We are joined by our amazing guest today, Yuri Lazaruk, to talk so many things. He has been helping brands grow 10x through community. He's helping freelancers out there building more than crazy brands and also have great revenues. He currently is also running two podcasts of his own. One is Humans of Business and other is about community. He has all been about community for so many years now and it's a pleasure to have him. And I'd love to know more from him because I have so many words and so many words of praises to talk about what Yuri has been doing out there. So thank you so much, Yuri, for being a part of this.
Yeah, Yukta, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm always happy to talk community, freelancing, human, business, like anything. And the more I talk to other people, that's something that I learned. If you want to really grow fast, go and talk to other people because it's the best way to grow and not just yourself, but together. So yeah, let's have an amazing conversation.
Oh, that's amazing. Actually, to start with, I would just love to know that, I've seen you talking on LinkedIn about community, business, freelancing, and all these topics that interest you. How did you actually find that one dot wherein you felt that, okay, I want to make my own business around helping brands make community as a revenue engine and then scale them from there? What was that initial spark moment for you?
Happy that you're thinking that it's only one dot because I feel like it's everything everywhere. I feel like there are so many things happening all at once that sometimes I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing? But the idea is that, it's all by starting, testing, trying, creating this minimum viable product, putting it out, getting feedback, improving and moving forward. It's pretty much how startups are growing. I've been in the community world for like over the 10 years already, and 7 of those years, I didn't even know that it called community. I was thinking that we are just meeting with people, we are just having fun, we are just talking about some interesting stuff that it's like out of us. And then I was like, I tried to Google what exactly am I doing, and then I found a book by Carrie Melissa Jones, and I was like, oh, it's community building. Nice. Nice to know that. And then when the war in Ukraine started, I
Hmm.
joined the international community world. And I was like, wow, there are people who are
Wow.
doing this, who are building professional communities for brands and companies for decades. Some of them are even doing it longer than I'm alive. I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. So yeah, so it was like trials and testing. And when I just joined the international world, I just heard about sense of belonging, where you,
Hmm.
once again, sense, yeah? How do you measure sense? That's a questionable thing. So,
Right.
and I was thinking that it's all about just human connection, about the vibes, about being a person like amazing, nice, where people love to hang out with you and whatever. But
Yeah.
what I learned that you can really move your business forward with the help of community. It can help you with
Right.
product, marketing, sales, customer success, HR, legal, like almost every department. And the more I saw how other experts are doing this, the more I had this understanding in my head like, oh my God, that's exactly what I need. Because it's you are given a huge value to your customers, to your clients, and they are moving your business forward. It's a two-way street. It's a win-win situation. Like, how cool is that? You are building human connections. You are making someone better, and you are building amazing business with humans while being a human. So I was like, yeah, it sounds my way. Let's do it. So that's a very short story.
You know, that's actually interesting, is because even I have been in this space for more than 6 years now, or maybe even more, but I didn't know that it's called community. I still remember when someone asked me that, how do you know that you're a people's person? And I was like, when I was a 5-year-old kid, my grandfather used to take me to different gardens to play. And every time I used to make five different friends whom I know the names for the day. The next day, I forget those people. And of course, there's new sets of friends. So I used to make friends, used to make communities, and then used to do things around that. And they were like, my God, what have you been doing? And I'm like, yeah, I think I've been a people's person since I was a child. Now I remembered more names. At that time, I still can't remember any person I met. They're like, oh, okay. So now I think I believe that even though, AI is changing trends and we are going into this technological advanced space. However, the essence of human touch and humans growing business would always stay. What do you think about that?
To a point, I really love how AI is growing because it's weird to say, but I know that there is this, as they call outside, loneliness epidemic, and AI makes it worse. I heard about some products that you can have a girlfriend or boyfriend as AI chatbot and to have this
Yeah.
conversation. And I'm like, great. It means that communities will be growing because at some point it will be so hard to be by yourself with all these technologies and AI stuff that you will need more and more and more human connections. So it's once again weird to say, but I'm happy to see what's going on. Definitely, there are some Skynet variants where AI is getting crazy and killing everyone, but I hope it won't happen.
Me too. Yeah, I completely agree with this. But landscapes are changing. I mean, we are so much in this uncertainty, and it really depends on how the things are shaping up now. Also, to understand in depth about your understanding with communities, when did you actually figure out that community could be a revenue engine space for any business? Because so many businesses are run by solopreneurs, and you've talked about it in your post as well. Freelancers and like two people building a business in these kind of I'll say ecosystems for people. How do you actually fit in communities? Do you think it's only for like big companies, or it is something that anyone can have?
It depends. It depends because community takes a lot of time. So if you are an individual entrepreneur or a freelancer and you want to build community for yourself, it's great as
Right.
long as you have time for doing this. Because you
Hmm.
have to be careful. I've started my personal communities. It was for SEO experts, for marketing experts, for paid advertisement,
Hmm.
and for sales experts
Right.
because I was interested in those topics.
Right.
As long as I was still interested, communities were thriving. When I lost my interest, communities are still doing something, but they are not thriving. So it's very interesting topic about being a community leader and creating community around yourself or something that you are doing, which is easier to build community around the company because it's not connected to one person. Of course, community managers, they have a great power in companies because they are like on the front line of speaking with
Right.
customers, of helping them. And sometimes I know this when community managers are leaving companies, people are
Yeah.
going with them. I mean, like, it depends. It depends on how you build your community.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why it's easier to build it around the brand. But when you are building community for yourself or for your
Hmm.
business, you have to start with why. As Simon Sinek talks about, start with why. Always start
Start
with
with
why.
why.
So why do you need this? Like, why? What do you want to achieve with this community? You really have to build a plan because it's nice to have some chat with your friends and catch up and go for some
Right.
coffee from time to time together. But if you are building it as a part of business, you really need to build a strategy first. And that's what I'm always telling. If someone is coming to me, yeah, I have this idea, I'm considering of building community. I'm like, show me your business plan. I mean, like, you don't really have to write the whole like investor's business plan, but at least you need
Right.
to understand what is your personal goal, what do you want to achieve with it, what are the
Hmm.
needs that community will solve for your members, and like
Right.
what is your, I don't know, at least few years plan. What do you want to achieve in some like 2 3 years? For sure,
Yeah.
it's hard to plan, and I always approach this build and go and build and go and build and build and get feedback and build again, etc., and moving like in this way. Still, you need to know
Right.
where you aiming, because if you are just aiming for nowhere, you are going nowhere. So
I agree with that. It's like so many people also talk about this, that until and unless you have a goal that you want to hit, and if you're not able to achieve, like set that goal and then walk towards it, because then you have a direction. Even if you follow the headlight theory, which says that see the 200 meters, then plan the next 200 meters, but you still know the destination. So the headlight theory also works when you know that if you want to go from, let's say, I want to fly from India to Poland, or maybe India to any country like States. So I need to know that I need to go there. Then even though my flight has turbulence, but the guy knows he needs to fly there.
yeah.
So that is important. But what's your key strategies that you talk about, like when you're starting out building a community? It's so different. I've seen some people who talk about onboarding is one of the
Mhm.
most important thing. Some people say engagement. Some people talk about funnels. Some people talk about offline experiences. Some people talk about having an audience, but then it's so important for them to understand, and I think we both might agree on this fact that an audience and a community are two different sects of people. It's one to many and many to many. So how do you actually strategize? I mean, what are your important three key elements that you love talking about to the founders?
So, first of all, you have to start not with onboarding, not with events, not with getting people to the community, but you have to start with your business goals. And that's something that I learned the hard way, that it's good to create engagement, it's good to
Right.
make people speak, but you always have to know why do they do this? Like nobody is paying you just for being a good person. I mean, like maybe someone is paying. I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
usually businesses need a result. And specifically here, let's talk about communities around brands and companies, because that's what I'm
Yeah.
mostly working with. And every time that I'm getting to strategize or help create a strategy of for a new community or existing community, I'm always asking like, okay, what are your business goals? Tell me everything. So I'm talking to a founder or a CEO and asking like, what is the goal of the business? Then I go down to teams. I go to marketing, to
Right.
sales, to product, and I ask them, what are their goals? How are their goals connected with business goals? Like, what do they do? And then after knowing all the things, I'm creating a strategy that will help other teams get to their goals with the help of community. So I'm not doing it separately, like community for community's sake. For my perspective, community is support for all the businesses teams, for every human that exists in the organization, in the company. Of course, it may be
Right.
harder when you are working with like huge companies with over thousands of people inside. You cannot literally talk to every person, but you are still working with some departments, you are still working with some teams. From my perspective, the goal of the community is to help them to achieve their goals, because their goals
Right.
are exactly what driving business goals, and that's how we are building. And it's not only my thought, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. We are this community ROI podcast where I talk to other community experts and founders about how community is connected with businesses. So I'm trying to build this bridge between, so people understand what's really, really important. Because if you are trying to build community and you start with, I need to build onboarding, it's a wrong way to start. You need to understand business goals. And afterwards, you need
Right.
to understand how to get to those business goals. So, onboarding, engagement, events, those are tools. You need to start with a
Yeah.
strategy.
The strategy now, I believe, is the key element of, like as you said, the why of it. Which brings me to understand some communities have or business owners feel that their product serves a global audience. And now when I'm trying to work around this, I am dealing with different kinds of people who are coming from different parts of the globe. And let's say, even if I say I target North America and European region, but that also in itself is so diverse. So what I mean, how do I navigate through this complexity of cultures or a brand going global because they feel that instead of doing something locally, they want to build something that's global?
Definitely, it's good to have a person on the ground. You know, if you are building community for India, it's good to know someone from India who knows the cultural differences. If you are building community in Germany, it's good to know someone in the US. It's good to have these connections because humans know what's going on inside. And for example, if you ask me to go and build a community for Japan, it'll be hard because I read a lot of books about Japanese philosophy and culture.
Right.
Still, I don't really know what's going on inside. But if I have at
Hmm.
least one person, someone who I can talk to and ask questions, it will be so much
Right.
easier. And you know, it's always about starting with a higher level. I mean, like, if you are a
Hmm.
human, I believe it's hard to mess things up. So if you are not diving into some specific topics, if you are just
Yeah.
really trying to help people and you are open minded and you understand that, as Ted Lasso says, that
Yeah. Yeah.
people are
Yeah.
different people, and if you accept people as they are,
Hmm.
for example, if you do something wrong, you apologize and you ask like what is the right way to do this. So basically you learn while you are doing things. Yeah, start small and then expand, and definitely have some person on the ground to understand what's going on better. And anyway, when you are starting a community worldwide, you are not starting it's like massive everywhere. You are doing it with the small steps. You'll learn as you go.
Yeah, I think that is interesting when you talk about it, but when it comes to doing, like, you learn as you go, it becomes chaotic. And I've seen so many businesses also, like founders struggling with finding that clarity as to the right message, the right ideal client persona, the IC, and the fundamentals. I mean, each one of us loves talking about getting leads, making lead magnets, and doing all of these initiatives or the higher level strategizing. I still feel that the entire pyramid is sorted if you have the fundamentals in place, which is your like, what are you offering, to whom are you offering, and how are you exactly solving that problem for them. So in this context, how do we navigate or how do we figure this out? I mean, I've done that for people, I've done that for myself as well, and I think that this approach is far beyond just writing answers to a 10 question sheet. Like, this is something that goes deep. I mean, even if you give me, like, you gotta fill this out, or I said, you fill this out, I'll help you with this. I think that still goes beyond those 10 questions and the 10 answers that you're writing. What do you think about that?
So coming back to this thing, I also know the USP, ICP, and all this
Yeah, yeah,
scary
yeah.
words. But the idea is, you know, it's so easy to build it right now because you have all the books in the world, you have all the information in the world, you have all the large language models like ChatGPT, Cloud, whatever. If you want to know how to do it, you can know how to do it. But the main thing that it's not set in stone. So when you are building anything, it will change. I guarantee you it will change. So that's why I'm trying never to do the perfect thing from the first step. I'm doing good enough and then I test it. Then I talk to people, then I talk to clients, then I talk to members and see
Right.
how it works. That's exactly what I meant when I told build as you go. So I always have some North Star, see
Hmm.
where I'm moving, but I don't know if it will be the straight line or should I go through some mountains or through some forest with crazy animals that wants to eat me. I don't know. You
Yeah.
know, you don't know
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
don't know, and you will know after making actions. And you know, it's something that I really can't, like, I'm this person who can't sit and build plans. So I can see we're going there and then
Yeah.
I will go. And as long as I'm going, I will find things out. Because for me, sitting and like creating the whole journey, the whole map, it's like mission impossible. Because once again, you don't know what you don't know. And you will know this only when you take first step and then the second step and then the third step and afterwards like you look backward, oh my god, I'm like halfway there. That's how it works for me.
This is indeed insightful, and which brings me to understand this more. So, you talk about mentorship, we talk about coaching. And we also talk about it is important to have a mentor who could help you identify the potholes in along the way. So if you're figuring it out, maybe you would hit less walls and you would have more breakthroughs. And of course, one space is now an entire industry about where you have business mentors and everyone playing different roles in your businesses. How important is that? First, second, can you trust people out there? And the services or the courses that are offered now in the market about like you just consume the knowledge and you implement it so it becomes a better executed path, like someone has done it already. All you need to do is copy the path and it becomes clear. So how does that look to you, or do you have any opinions on that?
I'm never stopping learning, and I'm always
Hmm.
do it through different ways. I read a lot of books. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I have hundreds of conversations. I read millions of posts on LinkedIn from the people that I admire and then I like learning
Right.
from. And I can tell there is no one book that teaches you how to become a millionaire. So even if it would be such a book, it would work not for everyone because every person is different and everyone
Yeah.
has their own journey. So trust, yes, you have to trust because if you are not trusting anyone, you will not listen to anything that people are saying to you and you will not
Yep.
try to do it. But you cannot trust blindly. So you have to trust and try it. And definitely you have to use your brain. When I'm talking about ChatGPT with my kid, I tell him like, hey, you must use it, but you can't trust it. You have to always use your brain. You have to understand. And if you receive some information, you have to check the source. You have to check, is it real? And if you check
Right.
the source and it sounds good, you have to try it. Because, it's interesting question you asked about mentors. I've never had a real mentor. I mean, like as they teach you in the books, that someone like this
Yeah, yeah.
Master Yoda or whatever who like shows you the way, feel the power,
Yes.
whatever. No,
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
doesn't work for me like that. Maybe it's a trust issue. I don't know. But the thing is that I'm always like, first of all, I'm not scared by positions. So if I meet someone and it's on their LinkedIn is written like CEO of Netflix, I don't care. It's a human. If it's written like junior developer, I don't care. It's a human.
It's a
I can
human.
learn from I learn from my kid who is like much younger than me and definitely doesn't have all the wisdom in the world. So if you're
Yeah.
open to learn from people, you will find your way. That's the thing that you need to understand, that everyone need to understand. Because I don't know. I never follow someone's steps. And we have this crazy conversation with my wife. Everything, okay, 95% of what she's saying to me is right. But no way I will believe it from the first word. She will tell me something. Most likely I'll, yeah, I don't know, maybe. And then 6 months later, I'm doing exactly what she told me. And then she was like, do you remember I told you that? I'm like, I'm not sure. But yeah, okay, yeah, told this. Yes. So it's always about listening to others, but then creating your own journey.
This is actually fundamental to understand because, like you have tens of hundreds of opinions out there telling you what to do, how you should be doing things, and then you still end up doing what your heart says. And it is phenomenal. Like I went to this I was in Washington DC and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something crazy, and I went to this psychic reader, and she and I are having a word about just like we she plays all these candles and her cards, and it's like a great experience. And then she ends up telling me that you're very stubborn, and I was like, no, I mean, I still listen. I mean, I come from a brown family. I listen to my parents and I listen to people around me. She said, you listen, or maybe you hear, but you don't process it. You would still end up doing what you want to do. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I think that's how every human is wired. So I'm not taking that as a negative trait, but it's something that sets me apart from a lot of people. So you might be right. That is how I think humans are built. Not all of them, but I'll say most of them.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned, but I would say that many people likes to be led and they like so that someone tells them what to do. I hate when someone tells me what to do. So I can have a conversation, I can have a brainstorm, but if someone will tell me what to do, it's a really low chance that I will do it, or I will do it my way anyway. So yeah, to your point
Ah.
about mistakes. So I believe it's very important to make mistakes. You know, you told me before
Hmm.
about these walls, about getting the information about the walls and stuff. So I would say that it's really good way for everyone to be aware of the walls, but you still need to face them. You know, because you can't avoid all the walls in your life, you still need to face them, and because that's exactly how you learn. You know, when you tell to a children that, hey, it's hot, do not touch it because you will burn your finger, they will touch it and they will learn to not touch it anymore. No matter how many times you will tell them, they will try at some point. So that's the main thing. Is the same thing as with adults. You know, I truly believe that adults are just grown up kids. They still need to touch it, but you can
Yeah.
warn them, hey, it's hot, you can burn yourself, and then it's up to them whether they want to touch it or not.
They want. That's the key. It's just us being. And I think that's how I view mentorship as well. Maybe a true mentor can just tell you what you should be doing, and if you do this, you might get burned. And if you still want to do this, that's your choice. Like I went on this mentorship call with someone who is one of the world's leading challenge guy, and I tell him about this fellowship that I'm trying to launch, and our team is working on that, and he's like, oh my god, you gotta reduce prices. And I was like, but it's like 99 bucks. I don't think that's expensive in terms of the value that we're bringing on to the people. And then he shares about his experiences. Now, what he mentioned was absolutely right about that if you're running a challenge globally and trying to work with people from these many countries, let's say four target countries, probably you need to understand the value of that X price for this audience and then navigate across the like the customer acquisition costs and things like that. And then they shared stories about, like attracting or working with 100,000 people. And I'm like, you could keep your price low. It's because you are working on volumes. So today, if I choose to put $8 or $10 as my price and I'm working with 100,000 people, my revenue is $10 into 100,000, which is $1 million. I hope my math was right. Yes, it was right. And if I'm now trying to just attract my first 100 people, and I'm keeping it to $10, so it's not about revenue. But then, am I selling myself short, or am I selling this service as cheap and not premium? But I know the value that I provide through the service is premium. So what do you
You
think
know,
about that?
I can tell you a story that I learned from Sahil Bloom's newsletter, and it
Yeah,
was very insightful because it went deep to my heart, and it was about how to value yourself. And it was a story that a boy came to his father and like, what's the worth of my life? Like how much I
yeah,
worth? And he was like, okay, take this stone, go to a market, and if everyone asks you how much is it, just show two fingers and do not say anything. So this boy runs to market and there is an old lady like, what are you doing, boy? And she's like, oh, I'm selling a stone. How much is it? And he was like, she was like, oh, $2. Okay, I'm buying it. So he running back to the father and telling the story. And father's like, okay, now take the stone and go to the museum. And this boy goes to the museum, they see the person in the museum and like, boy, what are you doing? I'm selling a stone. How much is it? Two fingers. $2. Okay, I'm buying it. And he coming back to father and then father, okay, so now go to this person who works with valuable stones and ask them. And he's coming to
yeah.
this person, and this person like, oh boy, what do you have? And he'll like, I have this stone. And this person like, oh wow, it's the best stone I've ever seen. I was searching for the stone for all my life. How much is it? Two fingers. 2 million. Okay, I'm buying it. So
Oh,
it's always depends on who you are talking to, you know. And it went so deep to my heart, and I was like, your offer, it doesn't mean like for someone it can be $1, but for someone it can be $1 million. And you have to really find your people. You have to really find who you will help the most, because you know, if I'm trying to feed someone who just left out of the restaurant, most likely they don't need this food. But if I'm going and helping people in the world who are suffering, they will
yeah.
appreciate it so much more. And it's a huge difference. So, you know, all these conversations about your price, about how much you would charge, sometimes I'm saying a price and people are like, how do you calculate it? What is your hourly rate? I'm like, look,
Hmm.
let's talk about what value do you get out of it. So my price is this. You're getting
Yeah.
X out of this. Why do
Yeah.
you care? How do I calculate it? You will have
Hmm.
10X more. So I'm not going through hourly rates. I'm always going out as the value that I'm bringing to a person.
I love this story, honestly, and this generally has changed my perspective about the right set of people. And it makes me reinstall this quote that says, you do not need to be everything to everyone, but sometimes you need to be something to someone.
You know, there was this movie, The Greatest Showman, and I remember this phrase. It was the main character. He was trying to go and like be the best well-known showman in the world, and he was like wanted everyone to like him. And she told him he was on another venture. He was going to the US or whatever, and she told him, you know, you don't need everyone to like you, just a few good people. And it's pretty much the same. And no matter how hard you try, you won't make everyone to like you. There will be always someone who doesn't care about you, most
Hmm.
likely, and sometimes even hate you. And it's okay. You know, that's how it is. You have black and you have white. You have sun and you have moon. You have two different sides of the coin. It will be never one opinion. Who cares?
The point about perceptions, as you mentioned, that some people would value what you do, some people would not, which brings to the concept of discovery or discovering about in terms of business as well or personal life both. Where are you most valued? Where your offer is most valued? Where your product is most valued? And sometimes we just end up making a product and it lands awfully bad on the market. Sometimes we do a lot of product discovery and do this product market fit, speak to people about the MVP, the minimum viable product, and then we're like, okay, I have this. Did you like, or like, this is what we are working on, and they receive an average response. I won't say that it lands the best, even though it was done after multiple market fits and testing, things like that. So how to, like as you mentioned the movie, that the greatest showman, how to
Hmm.
actually be the greatest showman when it comes to your product or service market fit.
First of all, I think that you have to believe in it with your heart.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
there is one great person that I'm working with, and he's selling like huge ticket sponsorships and like really amazing. I'm like, what's your secret? And he told me that I truly believe that what I'm selling will give a huge value to the customer. And I truly believe in the product I have. So if you are believing in what you are doing, if you are doing it with passion, people will also believe you and they will feel you. You know, they will feel how do you talk about your product, how do you approach it, because you know sometimes you're going to a shop and there is this salesperson who hates their job and they're trying to sell you something and
Yeah.
you're like, no, 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 I don't need this, thank you. And then you are going to another shop and you're meeting this person who loves what they're doing and you are finishing buying so much more that you actually need it because you just enjoyed it so much and you felt this passion and you were just inside the story, you know, and you understood that yes, I really need all of these things. And you know, something that
Yeah.
really changed my approach, you were talking about this MVP and market fit or and building a product. Especially a long time ago I thought that you need to build a product and after that go to the market, and I read it or heard it somewhere that you actually what you really need, you just need a landing page, a very simple landing page with a story,
Hmm.
and share it with people and see how many people will sign up or even purchase your product without product even existing. And that's the
Right.
best market fit test, because you know it's all about the story. You can build the best product in the world, but if you don't know how to tell the story, if nobody needs it, they won't buy it. So I'm a huge once again believer of testing, of trying, and before really creating something, I will ask
Yeah.
hundreds of questions. I will get feedback from people, I will gather their opinion, and only after that it's time to build. And especially it's really motivating when you have 100 customers that already paid for something that does not exist. Then it motivates you to create it and to create the best version of it. So that's how it works for me.
This is, I think, the best idea to just test the market out. Like a great, beautiful landing page. Is again, it's like the beautiful packaging
And it doesn't
without
have to be
keeping.
beautiful, you know? It doesn't really have to be beautiful. It has to be just straight to the point. It has to be neat. It has to be okay. So it's not looks like garbage, but it has to be okay. So people can see it. Yeah, okay, I understand. And then they can understand the story. So the landing page, the text on the landing has speak to their hearts. It's all about the messaging. It's all about the story. So once again, because like it's perfectionism to build beautiful landing. You don't need beautiful. You need just normal working landing page. That's what you need.
Right. In this, since you're building this, I think you're also building or trying to test the concept of your 100 true loyal fans. And since coming from the community domain and having your own business entirely built around helping people build crazy communities, how do you actually have those 100 true loyal fans of your service or product or you, so that you know that okay, the leads would never be a problem, because instead of every time something happens you have to do a cold outreach, which again is important, but cold outreach becomes a medium of bringing extra revenue. But this community or these 100 true loyal fans are now responsible for your sustainable MRR.
You will never have loyal fans out of nowhere. So you have to win their trust. You have to build relationships with people, and it won't happen overnight. And sometimes when you are building a product before creating it, you have to build, and how crazy is that? You have to build audience. You have to start with audience.
Yeah.
Community is the next level. It's the next level. Like out of 100 people of your audience, maybe 10 will join your community. And this is your early believers. It's someone who
Yeah.
trusted your story and they want more. They want to talk to you,
Hmm.
they want to talk to other like-minded people. So it's like step zero, it's like patient zero. And after that you are going into community, and when they are joining, can you imagine that someone is joining some space? So currently everyone is member of LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, Netflix, who cares? And they
Yeah.
are joining for some reason your Slack space or your circle space or your Discord group. Why do they do
Yes.
this? So they already trusted in something. They already believed you a little. So the
Yeah.
next step is how do you continue? Like, is your story that you put out there is the same? Do you really believe? Because you can write great texts with ChatGPT and like be this amazing, I don't know, like
Yeah.
robotic person, but are you
Yes.
really believe in what you are doing? So that's a test that you will have in the community. And when you passionate about solving real life challenges, when you understand, when you ask tons of questions, when you
Hmm.
have this deep relationships and people trust you that way that they can actually tell about their challenges. Because usually when you ask a random person about their challenges, they will mumble something, I need clients. But then when
And
you
something.
go deeper to a conversation, you understand that they actually do not need clients, but they are amazing experts and they need to be visible. They need to build their brand. And because clients
Yes.
do not see them, it's not because they're a bad expert or they don't know how to build a website or, I don't know, do design product, whatever, but
Right.
nobody knows how great experts they are. And they won't tell you this. No one will tell you, like, oh, I don't have customers because I don't have any kind of brand and no one knows that I exist. They won't tell you this. And maybe they even don't know this. So you have to really understand their challenge. You have to ask, ask, ask. One of the books that I read long time ago about sales is Spin Sales by Neil Rackham. And it's about discovery questions, about how to
Hmm.
uncover
Hmm.
real needs. So when you uncover real needs and when you helping people really, and when you invite them, kind of like help me to help you, that's where you are going through some challenges together, and that's how those people become your ambassadors. And then it's kind of easy. They start talking about you, they start inviting their friends, and then the rest is history.
Right. It's so much about that referral space. I can attest to it because we used to do these offline events, and I used to be a part of a lot of communities. I even started my own offline community. We used to if there's an event happening, I used to just drag people, like my friends, of course. Okay, we gotta go here, we gotta go there, we gotta go there. And then people were like, okay, she's always going with 4 or 5 people. I said, of course. I mean, what if I don't like your space? I at least need to have my people to vibe with until unless I vibe with your people. So in my events, also bring your people. Guarantee you will have fun. If not, you will still have your friends to vibe with. And that became one of a crazy campaign that we did, that find your vibe. If not, you still have people to vibe with. So always carry +1 with you.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what is your opinion on these controversial or experiential marketing things that are now talked about?
Like what? Give me some example.
For example, people use different topics which are controversial. For example, the United States investment in Saudi Arabia. Sorry, Saudi Arabia's investment in United States. So now that was that, and everything that happened, all these billionaires and all these founders going and addressing that gathering, things like that. People actually, the companies, those who were fintech companies, utilized that as their campaign headers and made products out of it and things like that. A lot of I'd say a lot of AI tools in this cross cultural space for leveraging that one news headline to make campaigns around that. So, do you think that these initiatives are, something that's, of course, being talked a lot in the world? For example, this instance being a global move, affects or is useful when a founder implements that into their marketing, which we now call as controversial or experiential marketing.
If people are doing that, most likely it works for them. So, and most likely people who participate in all the things, it works for them too. At least they hooked, maybe they even get some value out of it. If you ask personally me, I don't really like to hype on some crazy stuff. So I'm super honest. I'm here, I'm telling my story. I tell other people's stories. I'm highlighting people on my podcast and as much as I can everywhere. And for me, like honesty is super important because if someone is like faking till they making, maybe it works. Hundreds, millions of people do that. For me, I don't know. I'd better say that upfront that I don't know what I don't know, but I'm open to learning, and I'll be honest from the very beginning. So once again, people are different people, and for some it works, and good for them.
I like how the answer is shaped, like this is something that other people do, but your values are your values, which is actually required, is because that's what sets you different. I mean, you would not just do something just because there's trending in market, but you would try to align that with your belief system. That is it something that you feel that's ethically authentic, honest, or bringing transparency within people? There have been so many businesses I personally know are of course on the great marketing things, but when you look at the back end, you're like,
Now I know
probably
how it
it's
works.
great.
Now I know
So
how it works.
I was like, okay,
You
now
know,
this
I'm
is something I don't want to do. And
I'm a big believer to have low expectations but surprise people instead of have high expectations and disappoint people.
is it something like under promising and then over delivering?
Yeah, something like that.
And since you've been doing all these podcasts, I mean, two different, one is community ROI and one is humans of business. Why are you doing these podcasts? I mean, two different, and investing your energy into podcasting as well while you are building a business for yourself. And what are you learning out of this? Like, what are the key learnings that you feel have shaped your perspectives and the evolving identity of us as human beings?
I learned so much, and basically, at least 50% that I learned out of the podcast. And I'm always telling
Oh,
to my guests that I have this podcast in purely egoistical way, that I'm here to learn from you firsthand. It's the
yeah,
first step because even while we having this conversation right now, we are learning from
right.
each other firsthand. What will happen next? It will happen next. But the first step is to learn from great humans. And I started podcasting journey as a way to connect with people. And it's a little trick because if you invite someone and say like, hey, do you have 30 minutes for a coffee chat? They will tell you, I'm so busy. I don't know. Let's catch up somewhere in 6 months. But if you tell them, hey, I'm doing this podcast, would you like to do 1 hour conversation? Like, yeah, here's my calendar. Use a link. Let's do it. So it's a real door opener to amazing
Right.
humans who are open to share their experience. And for me, it's a bad thing. And I really love highlighting those humans. I love learning from them and then sharing what they've told to as many people as possible, because like it's just nuggets of wisdom. And once again, coming back to trust, yeah, if you hear something, I recently read this, that if one person tells you that you have a tail, you will smile. If 10 people tell you, you will turn back and look around if you really have a tail. So that's the same thing. If one person will tell you, do this, who knows? But if 20 people will tell
Hmm,
them
hmm,
that
hmm.
they do this, most likely you will also try it. And talking about difference in podcasts, so community ROI is about building a bridge between business and community, and it has specific structure,
Right.
and it's more, I would say, action related. So what to do to build
Hmm.
great community to move your business forward. And humans of business, it's more like human related. So I talk to great entrepreneurs, to business people,
Right.
to solopreneurs about what differs them, what are some human traits, what motivates them, how do they meet other
Yeah.
people, how do they deal with procrastination, how do they connect with potential customers, like how do they approach saying no, or how do they protect their time boundaries. So some human things inside the businesses that they are building, because I truly believe that
Right.
behind every business there is a great human, and I want kind of to uncover this code. So there are like different things, but I'm still, everything that I do, I try to gather in one system. And
Yeah.
sometimes people who are going to community ROI, at some point they can go to humans of business, and vice versa. And that also helps me to
Hmm.
build a bigger picture of a specific person, of a specific personality, to better understand them.
Yes.
And after having like two podcasts together, we are almost friends. So it works really well.
It does, yes. I believe podcasting now is one of the best ways to actually build relationships with people and to actually establish a phase wherein you're not actually building transactional relationships,
Yeah,
which
no.
a lot of people do practice. It's a genuine connection because you are exchanging values. You're trying to know different perspectives, agreeing to disagree sometimes as well. So it's, as you mentioned, and your podcast is Humans of Business. It's indeed a human connection that you're building, and a connection, not just a random hi, I met you XYZ.
Exactly. It's all about it's also part of my community building journey. So afterwards, I do my best to get as much attention as possible to this person, to get out of every episode. I'm creating small videos, I'm creating quotes, I'm creating a blog
Right,
post and all the stuff. I'm trying to get the most out of this conversation and create evergreen content that we have conversation now, but you will hear from me 2 years later. Your episode, some nuggets of wisdom out of today's conversation will be still
right.
out there coming back 2 years later. Because that's how it
Yeah,
works. I'm always trying to talk to people about evergreen stuff. Because yes, human traits can change. Yes, approaches to community building can change. But once again, they will not change 100%. They will change a little bit. And it's also a part of growing. And it's always good to really see the growing curve. So if someone were telling something 2 years ago and then they have another direction, what
yeah,
made them change their mind? Why did they do this? It's also
yes,
interesting to understand, because once again, one of my beliefs while growing up, that if you said that you will do something, you must do
yeah.
it. But it doesn't work that way, because you are getting new information. And at some point, with this new information, you can understand that what I was doing makes no sense. And you have to find when to pivot. And you have to be fast, because you can be stubborn. You can still doing one thing. But if you are moving in the wrong direction, it's better to stop earlier and pivot.
Exactly. It's a quote I read somewhere wherein it says that if you're on a train that's going in a longer direction, take the next stop and get out, because the expense of coming back when you've reached a certain destination is higher than actually making a stop and picking the another train to some other place.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's indeed insightful. I would love to understand or know about a story or one incident in your life that completely made you pivot your direction, or realize that pivoting is easy, or it's based on a lot of factors. What was that instance or moment?
Pivoting is not easy. it's never easy because it's easier to go straight without thinking, without doing anything. So pivoting is hard. And one of the pivots happened when the war in Ukraine started because I was building communities only in Ukraine and I was trying to develop the market there, but I had to pivot and turn worldwide. And I can tell you I'm not coming back because I understand there is so much more opportunities, there is so much more need for community building in the world than it is in Ukraine. And yes, Ukrainian market is growing, but it will take a long
Yes.
time to grow. And I didn't even think about that. I just lost any source of income overnight and I had to find what to do next. So basically it
Yeah.
not was I was thinking and sitting and planning like, oh, what do I do next? So it happened by
Hmm.
accident. And sometimes you have to be flexible and open to trying new things, to talking to people, to you have to be open-minded because if you are thinking that you are only doing what is right, most
Yep.
likely you are wrong because as I've learned it from Matthew McConaughey, who learned it from some of the director of the movie he was dealing
Yeah.
with. There is more than one way to be right. And if you are open minded, you will see different ways and you can test different ways and see what works best for you. But if you are closed minded, yeah, who cares? Do what you do. It's your life.
This is the most important bit of pivoting. It's also, like being open minded and being in that mindset. It's so much wherein there are like multiple students in a classroom, and the teacher is talking about a few things, which are, of course, about having a positive space, building, a positive mindset, or talking about why belief systems shape you. So the same students in the classroom, like, let's 50% would have a positive output and 50% would be at the same level, or probably would not improve and maybe go 2 levels down. And the only difference is their belief systems, that are they actually just passively listening and not processing things, or actually building onto it and changing things around them, no matter their external environment is not helping.
You know, one more thing that I learned recently, and once again, it went deep into my mind that you are responsible, no one else. You are responsible for every action you are taking. If we are here in this conversation, we chose to be in this conversation. If we are sitting and watching all the episodes on Netflix instead of building your business, we
Yes,
chose to watch Netflix.
to do that.
If I'm sitting on a TikTok for 3 hours, I chose to sit on a TikTok. So, and the moment you tell it to, because it's easy to say, it's algorithm, it's all because of the algorithm, it feeds me with new videos, I have no power over it. But when you say that I chose to spend 2 hours of doing shitty stuff, it brings you to the ground. And then you understand that every single thing that you are doing, you choose to do it. And when you are responsible for your choices, it's hard in the beginning, but it's so much easier later because you have no one to blame except for you. And really, no one have power over you because you are choosing what is your next move.
Absolutely. Oh my God. And this is the moment wherein you realize that you have to stop living in the autopilot mode. Because if you've seen the movie on Netflix, The Social Dilemma, a lot of people have seen the movie. I was in Northeast and I was delivering this lecture and we were actually talking about this. So we said, you have watched the movie. Now you know that if you keep your social media aside to focus on building something for yourself, that's a choice. The algorithm would keep on doing it once. Like they would be pushing those notifications to you. If you have an iPhone, just go and close the notifications. If you have an Android, close it that way. So the system is there to make you stop it. Do you want to do that? And this realization, even I personally had when I was just, just like sitting, and I was like, so I genuinely cannot blame anyone else if I am doom scrolling, or if my mindset, or if I'm just pissed on something, or something's not working out and I choose to doom scroll instead of, thinking it out or doing something else. So it's my choice. It's so similar to anything else. So many people I've seen blame their partners, blame parents, blame other
It's
people for
easy.
their
It's
decisions.
easy. Yeah, of
It's
course. Why
easy,
not?
yeah. And it's like, this person made me
It's
do
like,
this. I
not
said,
me,
no,
not
you
me,
did that.
not me.
Yeah,
No, it's
yeah.
them, it's aliens. No, not me.
So I'm like, oh my god, no, you did that. maybe they would have influenced you and they were highly influential, but it was your choice in the end to get influenced by them.
You know, before Netflix was mainstream, I watched a movie called In Time or On Time, and it was with Justin Timberlake. And the idea that your main purchasing value is the time that of your living. So somehow every person is modified that they have the timer on their hand, and if their time is running
Yeah.
up, they're just falling down dead. And you know, every time if someone is telling me that I cannot buy it, I don't have money, so I will do it myself, and I'm like, you are paying with your time. It's a question what's easier to pay with money for something that someone will else will do faster, or to pay with your time, because some people do not understand it. They think that your time worth nothing, but it's the most precious thing that you have in your life. So I didn't watch the Social Dilemma on Netflix because I watched that movie back then,
Yeah.
and I know the value of time.
That it someone said this, a lot of people in general you would meet are time poor. No, wait, I'll rephrase. They are status driven, time rich, and money poor.
Hmm.
And they would love trading their time towards gaining that status, which they feel would make them feel great. In the end, you are trading the most valuable thing out of your life. So, is it worth it? And that's why so many millionaires, business owners I've seen, they value their time like anything. I mean, they might just go on that vacation and not do anything, but they would still not associate themselves with things that they don't want to do. They are happy taking a vacation off or maybe doing something that burns them out, but not choose to do things that they don't want to, or they in their heads feel it's wasting their time. Like some people, not some people, I had this friend, he never traveled with his bag. And I was like,
Hmm.
are you mad? You're at airport and you're not taking your bag. He said, okay, so I am time poor and money rich. So what will I do? He goes to that city. He goes into the best showroom, could be a Calvin Klein, UCB, or like name a brand. He would like choose 10 different clothes for the time he's there, make a bag, pay the bill. Could be like $300 to $400 every trip, and make that bag in that city, give those clothes to his team, and travel with only his mini backpack, which has his
Yeah.
laptop and a few other essentials, to other place. And I'm like, what have you been doing? He said, of course. I mean, do you think I'm going to waste my time for an hour standing in the check in line wherein my brain should be utilized for doing creative things and increasing revenue in my business instead of standing in lines, dealing with scrappy people and wasting my time? Probably just pay $400, get new clothes, and
Yeah.
give them back and go to another city, buy new clothes. I was like, oh my God, this is actually being time poor, money rich.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's why they have VIP pass in airports. So you just go through the line.
Absolutely. Which brings me to an interesting part that we do on this podcast called as 7 questions to fame. So
Yeah.
I'll be having 7 rapid fire questions to ask you, and once you're ready, I'm happy to shoot.
Do it right away.
Okay. So the first question is your 3 favorite books that shaped your perspectives about life.
Hmm. It's interesting because it's so hard to choose three. But something that I learned
Yeah.
from my good friend Mirella and Young, it's An Immense World by Ed Young. And it's about the world around us and how animals perceive world
Right.
differently. It's like just mind-opening book. The second book, I'm currently reading this book called The Daily Stoic, which is rather interesting. And I love this Stoic approach overall. And I think that it's a lot connected with life. And definitely, last but not least, it's a Little Prince, because no matter how old are you, you will
Right.
find something there for you. And it's so deep. And every time that I reread it, first of all, it's very small. You can read it like in an hour or faster. And secondly,
Yeah.
every time I read it, I find something new. I don't know how it works, but it works. So it will be my first three. I can tell you most likely at least one may change. So we'll see.
Thank you for sharing them. I'll actually read one of them and share my feedback, like my understandings of the books as well. So thank you for that.
What was that?
The I would say I'll start with the Daily Stoic.
Do it.
And the next question is, who are the 3 most important associates in your life?
Associate, it's who? I mean, like it's people or like Tell me more about the
People.
word associates so I
Could
understand
be
it
anyone
better.
who impacted your life professionally, or like your mentors, or maybe someone in your family, probably the colleagues you work with.
Yeah. Okay. So I will call four people, and it's interesting because two of them are my wife and my kid, and I learn
Oh,
from them both. Definitely, my wife is much wiser than my kid. I mean, maybe even than me. Most likely, she's the wisest person I know, and I still amazed of how my kid's brain work because it's totally different from my brain. And
right.
sometimes when he tells me something, my first reaction to tell him, hey, you are wrong. And I have to stop and think, should I, is he really wrong? Or maybe I am wrong. So
Yeah.
there are two very important people in my life. And then two more amazing humans that I'm currently working with is Mark Clemens. He's the CEO and founder of 9am, the company that I worked some time before. And he's
Right.
the most actionable and kind and fast and just amazing human. And I love every conversation we have with them. And another one is, I would say it's Thomas Mas. It's a person that I'm working with at the moment
Hmm.
because I'm we have a lot of fun having our
Right.
conversations. First of all, we are sharing our love to South Park, and we have many episodes to discuss. And secondly, he is like one of the best CEOs and sales experts I know, and I really love learning from how he does his job.
I love this answer, and four different people impacting your lives in a fundamental way. I truly love this answer.
I mean, like, and it's in this moment because
Yeah.
throughout my life, I had so many different humans and everyone left their mark on me.
Impressions.
Yes. And so it's just those people who are admirers most right now. And most likely my
Right.
wife and my kids, they won't change. Other people
Won't
may,
change.
but yeah.
Absolutely. I think I could say the same thing for my sibling and my mother. Like, no matter what, they would just be like, "Yeah, she's doing that," and things like that. And I'm like, okay, what's your point of view? And even though sometimes they may not have context to that industry or any problem that I have, but their opinions are too strong. And I'd say even their intuition just guides me. They're like, just don't do this. And I'm like, no, I still want to do this. And I end up doing that. And I'm like, I shouldn't have done that in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. The next question would be, if you had to define yourself in one word, what would that be?
Action taker.
Beautiful. Interesting. What has been one industry that you feel has the most amazing growth scope?
Community, of course, because it's still very undervalued. And I mean, like from business perspective, but it's
Right.
so much valuable from human perspective. And I truly believe that we are moving there. And in the near future, it will be much bigger than it is now.
It is right now.
I'm not talking
Wow.
about this cheesy AI stuff, because it's definitely one of the most growing industries. But for me
Yeah.
personally, it's community.
What is your biggest fear?
You mean something that I'm afraid of?
Yes.
After I witnessed what happened in Ukraine, and it's still happening at the moment, my biggest fear is to be with my family in the war, in the wartime, and to feel what's happening, like to know that every day you or your family might get killed and seeing other people dying and all the stuff. And I went through this and still going through that. And I really would love not to have any wars in the world at all because it's like the worst thing that humans created. And it's created by humans, unfortunately.
I'm genuinely in introspective zone as well, as because it took you a few seconds to think of the answer. And absolutely, this area that we are in, most of us should be grateful in whichever parts of the world we are, because we are still not in a zone that is conflicted, and we can build, create, think, and live
Yeah.
with peace. And this value comes, or you realize this, when you're facing something that's, of course, not something anyone should go through.
Yeah, that's why they say the grass is greener on the other side. And people are Usually they think about what other people have. They compare themselves with millionaires and celebrities and sports players and whatever. And they, oh, they have so much money, so much fame, they have everything. But they never think about all those people involved in wars, all those poor people, all those people who doesn't have a home, or people who lost everyone in their family and they're totally by themselves. They never compare them with those people. They always compare them with someone who is
Yeah.
kind of better, but it doesn't. How do you know? You never know, and it's fun. I listened to this song of Linkin Park, and I just recently understood the meaning of one of the sentences. And the sentence is, when the rich wage war, it's the poor who dies. And I was like, yeah, that's it.
Indeed, yes. And I'm actually speechless because I still remember, to add on to your statement, I was on the call with my friend from Israel, even that is a war conflicted zone. And we were talking about something, and I just asked him, my first question was, are you okay? Are you safe? Is
Mm,
everything okay with you? He said, oh, yeah, 14 miles before there's a missile. And I'm like, what? What? He's like, yeah, there's a missile that just dropped 14 miles away from me.
yeah,
I'm like,
it's okay. Yeah, it's normal.
how
Yeah,
exactly? And I was like, I was in shock. I'm like, how can you speak so normally about it? He said, because it became normal for me.
yeah,
And if
you getting used
tomorrow,
to.
yeah, and he's like, if you go back to your country, if you're in your country, maybe in the 1960s, 70s, when you were fighting and having all these things, and you were in those areas, probably a bomb dropping or something like that would have been normal for you. So
Yeah,
this is normal for me.
yeah.
I'm flying to Georgia tomorrow, and things will be better. I was like, okay, now that was culturally very shocking for me because for it's an anomaly for me, of course, not for him. And that's when I understood that these black swan events, as
Mm,
I love reading Nassim Nicholas Taleb,
yeah,
shapes identities, thought processes, perspectives of so many people worldwide, which we
mm,
don't even realize.
yeah. Exactly,
uh,
exactly.
so yeah, which I'd like to, since I'm so grateful that you shared this over here in this conversation, the last question would be, what is the legacy that you would like to leave the world with?
There is a song of Sia, "Courage to Change," and it starts with,
Hmm.
"World, I'd love to leave you better." So I don't know what it means, but I hope that every interaction, every conversation, everything that I create or help create or we
Yeah.
create together, I hope it makes at least a little better everyone who is involved, and it'll be okay. If it works, it's great. So we'll see. Who knows? Life is going on,
Yeah.
and no one never knows how much time they have. So only one thing that I learned is try to be your best you every day, and that's it.
This is magnificent. And thank you for sharing this. Sia is also one of my favorite singers from all her songs, the songs that were not popular. I was still extremely sad when Unstoppable became a global sensation. I was like, that was my personal motivating song. How could you steal it? Like, give it back to me. Damn, this is not your song. This is my song. Okay, this was in my playlist. And I think there's an emotion with some of the songs which of course become famous after some time. But when they were your favorite and they were
Mm,
not famous, and
mhm.
it just felt that the association that you have with that song is just yours.
Yeah, yeah. It's okay to share things with others. So
Oh, absolutely, yes. These are just some possessive things. You're like, yeah, that was my song. And they're like, yeah, now it's
yeah,
everyone's favorite
yeah,
song.
yeah.
I have to dilute my love for it. But thank you so much for sharing it. It's indeed very deep, and I love how all your thoughts and this conversation has been shaping up on a level wherein each answer is focusing so much on the depth instead of just playing at the surface level, wherein we're just not understanding the why. As you mentioned, that was the beginning of a conversation. So this segment that we do is called 90 seconds to teach me something. So if I give you 90 seconds right now, what would you like to teach me?
That's so crazy. That's I would follow up on my things that I told, don't give advice. because and something that I would really love people to use, because it's so easy to say something that you don't really care about. If someone is asking like, "What should I do?" and you just say just some random, "Just do this," and this person maybe does that, and then they do not have any result or have some crazy result or whatever. For me, the best thing it's always like one thing that I can do is share my experience and say, "Hey,
Right.
this is how it works for me. Maybe you can try it, but it's not guaranteed that it will work for you." Or if you really want to help a person, you have to spend a lot of time with them. You have to ask a ton of questions, and you have to ensure that you are not telling them what to do, but you are helping them to find out what to do. Because every time someone is asking you what to do, there is a huge probability that they know what to do. They are just afraid of doing it. And you can, with questions, you can guide them. You can help them find a way without actually showing the way. Because for me, it's the most valuable thing. Yeah, I feel like it's less than 90 seconds.
Yeah, and indeed, you have debunked so many myths or so many things that a lot of people do out there, being that if you follow this, your life will change, and probably it does not change for them. And then they are like, I paid you, and you've like to charge some specific $1,000 for me to follow your advice, and it just didn't work. And
I would tell that if you follow this, it will change my life because you will pay me money and I will have more of them and I will do some maybe different things. So thank you for paying.
absolutely, it's like, oh yeah, thanks. I mean, you've changed my life. Now you still need to figure out your life, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
better
yeah,
know that.
yeah.
Wow. I believe in this moment we can dive into so many different areas and keep on the conversation going. I would love to actually have a second episode wherein we are exploring other different depths of, the community world and also life in general, how building businesses have been in this uncertain space and how the global spaces have been changing. Before we, discuss anything else, or what is your opinion on having, since now you're completely global, you've mentioned that now you consult people internationally, specifically in the EMEA region, how important it is to be local or be global? What do you think?
First of all, you are definitely better understanding people that you are living with. So it's always good to start with people around you and then
Hmm.
expand. Or if for some reason you hate people around you, start with totally opposite market and then find your way out there. So once again, there is no one thing fits all. And I think it's totally depends on each personality and on how open are you to
It's
learn and understand that there is more than one
right.
way to be right.
Loved it, Yuri. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I definitely have a key takeaway that do not always feel that you're making something that is one size fits all, because most of the time it doesn't. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And thank you so much for asking such deep questions. You really made me thinking. And yeah, I had to have some pauses to really understand myself,
hmm,
that what I'm going to tell, that it makes sense. Because sometimes you can just tell something just to tell, but
yeah,
why do this? If you
is
are
when you
saying something
reflect.
that you are really believing in, that you are living for, because once again, it's easy to say words, but it's harder to take actions. And I'm always trying to ensure that everything that I'm sharing out loud, it's something that I'm using myself. It's not something I read in the books or listen on other podcasts, but it's something that I'm really using in my personal life, because otherwise it doesn't worth a penny.
I am so glad that this could happen. And before we end the conversation, do you have any parting thing that you'd like to say?
Yeah, go have fun in your life. And if you have fun, everything else will be great.
Noted. Go have fun, experience life, and experience it truly.
Yeah, and be responsible for the choices you make.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Yuri. It really means a lot. Thank you for creating a very self reflective space as well, wherein one needs to go through a lot of self reflection, introspection, and then making a move that is into the world. And I've loved the conversation. Thank you so much for this.
Yukta, thank you very much for inviting me. And yeah, I'm happy to go for another episode. So just send me a link.
Done. Deal done.
See you in the community world.